Hello, and welcome to Learn Python the Hard Way, exercise 52, the very last exercise. So this is kind of exciting. You're going to learn something called refactoring. Refactoring is just a giant word for making software work better. Anyways, a lot of people made a lot of money selling refactoring. And all you're doing is you have a new idea. You want to take your game from exercise 47 and make it work on the web. That's pretty much it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 47 because that has the game, and you could actually run tests on it. It was like more of a structure. Exercise 43 had the idea for the game, for the Gothon game, but in this exercise we're just going to copy the structure and do a basic game based on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop over here. I'm going to have my instructions off the screen, and I'm going to copy the exercise 47, and I believe it's going to be in exercise 47 game.py. I'm just going to copy it here real quick. And remember, I'm in the Gothon web directory, so that's where I want to be. And also ex47, and I believe it's tests, and it should be ex47 tests.py. And I'm doing that just so I can show you the file there, okay? Now what I want to do is I want to move this into tests, and I just decided to go with planisphere as the word for our map. And the reason why is because Python already has a map function, so I had to come up with another word for map, and planisphere, if you know, I like octothorpe, and planisphere is another cool word, so I'm going to go with that. And we're going to move game.py into Gothon web planisphere.py. Okay, so now our nose tests should just work. Okay. Oh, and then what we have to do is we have to edit that really quick. So let me load this up, pop back here, and I can probably do that, and that'll be easier. So let's go into tests, planisphere tests, and I have to copy this, and it's going to be Gothon web. We have to make that work, and make that work there. No module name Gothon. Oh, that's right. So sometimes I believe you have to add, if this is failing for you. Oh, not game. No, actually, that's not true. But there is something that you have to do. We want to make this planisphere. That's what we want to do. If you have where it runs and it can't find stuff, try doing this in Windows. env python path equals env python path dot, like that. So that will force it to look in this directory. So now we should get working tests, and we're good. So we know our game, our basic little game class works, and the room that's in it works. So now what we want to do is we want to hook that into a web interface. So the first step is, actually the first step is to make a game. So we want to make a game. And here's something to keep in mind. What we're doing is we're doing bottom-up development. So we're going to make a game. We've already got a game class, and then we're going to make it work with the game, and then we're going to plug it into the user interface. Now, that's not really true, though, because in exercise 51, we sort of made the basics of the front end. So we're kind of doing a bit of front end and a bit of back end, and a bit of front end and a bit of back end. So front end means the website, the view, the front of the house if you worked in a restaurant. The back end means the data, the room here, the back of the house. So we're going from, in exercise 52, from the back of the house to the front. Okay, now to save time on the video, I'm going to copy from my copy of exercise 52, Gothon web, and Gothon web, and I believe it's going to be called, yeah, I have a new planisphere there, Gothon web. All right, and then I'm going to copy, because that file is really large and you don't want to watch me type it. And then I'm going to do the same thing. P52, Gothon Web, tests, planisphere tests, 2 tests. All right, and run my nose test to make sure that all works. So we have the test code here, and the test code just has the original code to confirm that the room works. And then we make some basic rooms, and then we load the Gothon game map. And this is a very basic test. You might want to do like a more involved test than this. And notice it's just a very small little game. It's not much to it. And if I open up Gothon Web planisphere.py, you can see that it's a pretty large file. It's 137 lines. So don't type all 137. You should know by now. You do it incrementally. You do this little part first. And actually, I would do it without this text. I would do it with like just that text. Get that part of the game working, write the test for it. Then do this one and do this one and do the next one and so on until the whole game is working. Don't add any text. Then add the text in once the structure is done. Notice we also have these load rooms, and we have a name room. That helps quite a lot, loading up things. And we're using this thing called globals. So what is that? That's going to be a dictionary. Study this code. It's actually really interesting, easy to work with code. Also notice that we're creating variables, and we're using dictionaries, and we're structuring the data. So this isn't a lot of if statements and things like that. It's just all data. Now let's load up Gothon Web tests, planisphere tests.py. Nope, that's not what I want. I'm just going to do it the easy way. There we go. So once we have that, what we want to do is we want an engine. So currently our app for this is not going to work with this game. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to copy this, or we're going to want to modify the app. So let me load up the app next. Gothon Web app.py. Okay. So this isn't really going to help us much because it just basically does a simple hello world. What we want to be able to do is load this planisphere the way we do it in the test, and then using that, work a web game. So I'm going to just copy it over, and I'm going to give you the demonstration of it, so that way you can try to implement it on your own. I'm going to give you an overview, and then I want you to sit down and try to do it on your own. Okay, there we go. Now, this is only slightly larger, but it is more complicated. And the one other thing I want to load up, Gothon Web tests, planisphere tests.py. Okay. If we pop down to here, so here's the significance of doing from the back end to the front end. When you do the back end first, you can write a lot of tests to make sure like the general structure works and your idea is flowing before you even plug it into the front end. Now, I don't really endorse that style. I actually think you should probably do like a fake working front end where you make the web pages work and get your graphics working and just do totally fake within your app.py and then get the data you want working. But, this is how we're doing it, so fine, we're just going to do it this way. So we've got this planisphere test, and it's sort of laying out how you can do. You start a room, you load a room, you can go through things. So now we just have to make the app.py do that. So here's app.py, and what we want to do is we want to have a start of the game, and we want to use a session. Okay, so the significance of a session is it will keep data between page loads. Normally on a web browser, the page, each time you go to the next step, you lose all your information. So that's useful because it makes everything kind of run a little faster. But in this case, what we want to do is we want to have it where there's the current room the person is in, or how much damage they've received, anything else is stored between sessions or between interactions in pages. So we do that with with session. So once we do that, we've got this first index runs, and we set up the room name we want, which is planisphere.start. So if we go look at planisphere.start, Let me just look at start. It's the central corridor. And then if we look at how that's going to get loaded up in the app, we see redirect, and this function here will tell us whatever game should be, so we don't have to memorize game. Okay, so now we have the game. So the game is, from the session, get the room name. Okay? If the request method equals get, which is a regular access, then we do all of this. Otherwise, we've performed an action. So what we have to do first is figure out how to make this room work. So we use Planisphere load room. And if you look at your test, you know how load room works. So we go find load room. Load room is using globals to find the name. Now the next thing is we render that template, and now our room works. Okay, so let's do just that much. Let's go to / watch it redirect, get the room name, and start there. Okay. Now let me go do that. Python app.py. All right, and hopefully it actually works, but we'll see what happens. We're going to change this URL to go back here. There we go. It did not work. We need some templates. I forgot about that. So let me just kill this up, and we have the problem. I forgot to do threaded is true, so now my, maybe not. Yeah, I got lucky. Okay. Right now, I'm on Windows, so go do threaded equals true. Get that working. Okay, I need to copy from my starter directory, Gothon web, templates, asterisk to templates. There we go. Now we should be able to start it up. And the templates are in the book. There's nothing fancy about them. I can show you them in a few minutes, but let me just load this up. Get this going. There we go. That's our first room for the game. There's this sort of magical thing when you do back to front programming. If everything works right, you get the data working. So if you look, we got the data working. We got the testing that the data worked. We came in and we used the tests to figure out how to write this. And if we were doing this really well, we would have written a unit test that operates on the app.tests. And we've got this all working. And then you go to load it, and magically you have a working thing. It's very weird. It's sort of like you're building up all the little bricks, and then you've got a giant building. So once we have this part working, and I said I would show you some of the templates, so let me do that. And I believe, let me just double check. Where are the templates? Yeah, what we want to do, let's do showroom. That's that first one. So remember, we're using that layout, and we don't have to worry about the layout much anymore. I mean, the boilerplate at the top and the bottom. So this is pretty much it. We've got a form. We know the depth. We know if we hit the depth, the end, and that's it. There's not much to it. We get a room. We work with it. Going back and looking at the Planisphere, the rooms all have a name and a description, so that's pretty straightforward. And we look here. We loaded the room. Yeah, I mean, it just basically falls into place. Now, if we don't, we just say you died. And what this means is it means someone probably went straight to the game without starting at the beginning, so they don't have a session. In theory, that shouldn't happen too much, but you want to just cover it anyways. Remember, every if has an else. Okay, now, what if we do an action? So here's our action. So let me submit an action. Let's just go dodge. You died. Play again, and then play again. So there we go. So what happens when we do an action? We do our form. We know that from the last exercise. We do the room name, and we have an action. So we know the room we're in and what action to do. We load the room, and remember, we got the room name from the session. Then we get the next room by calling go. Go comes from the Planisphere, from the room, and we have our test telling us how that works. So then we come back to the app, and if we don't get a next room, then if we don't have a next room, then the room name equals name the room that. Okay. Otherwise, we basically put the name of the room in with the current room. Don't change rooms. So what this is if Go returns nothing. Actually, here, let me do this. So I'm going to type garbage. Okay, we just want to stay there. We don't understand that. Okay, so what that does is when we get none from Go, we just use this name room, which is sort of a reverse map of the rooms, and we just keep staying in the same room. Otherwise, we get the next room. And then we redirect back to the URL for the game. The reason we redirect is if we don't, then if people hit refresh, it'll cause all sorts of weird errors. Browsers just don't like refreshing after a form. If you submit a form and then redirect, you can do refreshes, no problem. All right. So then the only thing left is this secret key. Okay, you need to set that for your sessions. If you put this on the web, you want to change this secret key to something pretty heinous. Look up the Flash documentation for generating that. But for now, you can just kind of like use that. It's not a big deal. The thing that the secret key does is it makes it so that if someone has it, they can access the sessions of the users using the game. Okay, so now that you have that, and we have the templates, you want to look through all the templates that are being created, you have some things to work on. There's some bugs in here. Do you actually need, like for example, you've got this index, do you want to go to the game? We know how to break stuff, so how many ways can you break this one? I didn't cover any breaking within these last 3 exercises because they're hard enough as it is. So if you want to get into breaking this, fine, but you can also fix it. The other thing is, I guarantee maybe you don't know what's going on, so again, you want to do your print. Print this out. For example, game, get request, room name equals this, and room name, right? You want to debug each of these things, and when you do that, you can rerun this, and then when you go and access a room, go there, pop back, you get your debugging output, just like you're used to. Since you probably will have a hard time piecing these things together, use all of the things I talked about to figure out how this game works. It's subtle how it sort of snaps together at the end, but if you can understand this, you could spend a lot of time just learning about how things are working in this and studying Flask, and you would learn so much about Python just doing that. But again, how do you break down a piece of software? How do you figure out how it works? You do debugging. You print it out on paper and analyze it. You write English comments above every line you don't understand. You study all the pieces. You have a test. You write more tests. Do everything you can to understand this. Other things you might want to do is make the HTML look better. How would you create logins? Complete the game map, making it as large and feature complete as possible. Make a totally different game too if you want. Have a help system. There's a whole bunch of things to do at the end that will round this out. You could spend like a month just hacking on this game, making it the most awesome game ever. Okay. We're now at the very end of the book. And I would like to thank you for going through this book and, just basically learning with me. I really enjoy teaching people. I really think it's fun. Hopefully you learned a lot. I have some next steps you want to go through, and there's one more video that will cover just some various books, some things like that. But for the most part, that's the end of this course. Spend as much time as you can on exercise 52. And after this, I have a new book that's going to be coming out called Learn More Python the Hard Way. And that will cover Python 3, and it will take you from not being able to make software from your concept all the way to knowing basic algorithms, to being able to create a lot of tools and making things on your own. So if you want to learn more, continue on with that book. All right. Thank you very much, and I hope you had fun.